So I'm just going to be really straight up with you here. If you stay with an avoidant for too long, it is not going to be good. Not for anyone. It's not going to be good for your mental health, for your self-esteem, for your sense of self, and it's not going to be good for them. Because when you're in a situation where someone is being avoidant, let's say they don't like talking about emotions, they therefore cannot validate your experience. And when you are with someone who maybe says things or does things that are hurtful to you, and then they refuse to validate your pain, that becomes a secondary trauma. Because it is so painful when you express your heart and you've been hurt. So that hurt in the first place. But when someone says, oh, you're just being too sensitive, or you're just asking for too much, it's unreasonable what you're asking for, or I don't want to talk about it because I'm busy, or I don't do that kind of thing, I'm not like you, you're too sensitive, all this kind of stuff, you start to really question yourself. You really start to question your own truth. And over time, this erodes your confidence in your own self-trust, right? So you start to shut down, and you start to shut down parts of yourself that you were once free to express. Because the problem with being with someone who is highly avoidant is that they can minimize the way that you feel. And that makes you feel unsafe. It makes you feel like parts of you are not being fully accepted. And the real wound is that you're looking for them to accept it so that you can accept it. And so there's a real big emphasis that I want to put here on the work that you've got to do on your own self-love. Because when your self-love is high and your self-esteem is high, you wouldn't tolerate that shit. You wouldn't tolerate it. And the thing is that when we're unaware of our own wounding, and we're unaware that we're looking for approval, we're unaware that we need someone to validate us in order for us to be able to breathe, then we keep on doing that, and we keep on looking to this person for safety. And often we're looking at someone who isn't safe within themselves to give us safety, approval. And that, like I say, erodes our confidence, and it makes us to start to question parts of ourselves. And the thing is that when we're with people, you'll know what this is like. When you're with people who you feel like, oh, I can just breathe with you. I can just be myself. You listen to me, you hear me. Maybe you don't even need to feel like you need to talk about your emotions with these people, because you're just so relaxed with them, because they just get you, they accept you as you are. You go into this kind of playful energy where you can just play and be yourself and sing and dance and, be free. But when you're with someone who maybe was attracted to that part of you in the beginning, they were attracted to your energy, your lightness, your positivity, your fun, because it's something in them that they want to feel so much, they want to be able to do. But when they start to shut down, to distance themselves, all that life force energy goes towards trying to solve that problem, because that becomes a threat. It becomes an emotional threat. So rather than focusing on your own energy, staying in your own frame, really, your energy gets sidetracked to, how can I fix this problem? I want to love this person. I want them to feel better. I want to explain why I didn't mean what they think I meant. And I want to just solve this problem, because when this energy between us is solved, I'll be able to breathe again. And when you're talking to someone who is committed to misunderstanding you, that energy gets drained and drained and drained. And those playful, fun-loving, light-hearted parts of you that you love and miss so much get shut down. And you wonder, what's wrong with me? Why am I being like this? Am I avoidant? And this is one of those questions where you start asking yourself, am I being avoidant here? Like, this person is showing up for me. That you start questioning yourself, like, they're here. They say they love me. They're doing things. They did the dishes for me. They did this. They did that. They did things, because doing things is easier than feeling and being present, right? Avoidants often do this. They do a lot of acts of service, because it's much easier than the emotional connection that you're longing for. But you start thinking, well, they are showing up. So I must be avoidant, not realizing that you have emotional needs and that your boundaries are being crossed and that you're being gaslit and you don't understand because maybe historically you have not experienced a relationship where your needs and your feelings matter, and you're trying to make them matter to this person whose own feelings don't matter to them either. You know, they're so shut down from themselves that how can they have the capacity for yours as well? You know, so the impact on this is a real risk on your mental health, on your self-esteem, on your ability to discern what is right and wrong, what is good and bad for you. And the impact of that means that your other areas in your life suffer too. Okay, so it means that your energy is so diverted to trying to fix the relationship, because that's what you really want to work more than anything, that your energy that you had for your creativity, for your business, for your family, for your friends, just gets so depleted so that your life becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. By the way, I'm talking in worst case scenario, if you're with someone who is absolutely unwilling to do the work on themselves, right? There are different varying scales of people who are avoidant. There are people who are avoidant who know they're avoidant and they're in therapy and they're talking about it with you and they're like, I've been like this for ages and I need to sort it out, and thank you for holding the space for me. I know that I get triggered. I know I can be shut down sometimes, and please tell me if I do that. And they're really open to having that communication, that dialogue between you. That's a different story. When you're with someone who is avoidant and they are shut down from it, they don't want to talk about it. You've offered them the opportunity to talk about it and they have consistently dismissed it and made it out to be a non-important thing, then that's when you're at risk. That's when your confidence is going to, and it really can make you very confused. Basically, it can make you feel like a cognitive dissonance, where you're like, well, they are great and I really don't like this. And you're saying to your friends like, oh, they just won't talk to me about this thing and that really hurt me. And they're like, oh my God, that's awful. And yet you still stay because it feels very confusing, because on the other hand, the next minute they're fine and everything's fine between you and they love you and you had a great time at the zoo and you did all these things and look at all these nice pictures of them. Everything was good that day. But then, bam, they've gone into shutdown. They're in a dark mood. You don't know what to do. All your energy has been hoovered out to focus on them. And now you're in a dark mood. Now you've become scared in your relationship. It's not right to be scared in relationships. It's not right to be scared as in beyond the normal amount of anxiety that people get from the fact that you have to risk loving to love, right? So it becomes really confusing as well, because you might go into overdrive into how can I fix this? How can I make this person feel safe? And let me do this course, and let me do this course of therapy sessions and all these things. And you're just doing everything you can to try and fix the relationship while they're ignoring that there's a problem. And you feel like you are the anxious, neurotic one, when actually the main thing is that you're carrying the entire emotional weight of the relationship while they're not addressing it. And that is heavy. It's like lugging someone up a hill, carrying a load of bags and wondering why it's hard, right? It's really hard to do it. And so I'm saying this to you. Let's say you're in a relationship and you're struggling. Yeah, it's really, really hard. And I'm not saying just leave them, because it's never as black and white as that. It's never as simple as that. But to give you a validation of like how you're feeling and how hard this is. And if you're looking back at a relationship where you thought, why did I put up with that for so long? And you're feeling confused now. Yeah, of course. Because, I mean, there's a part of us that we've got to have compassion for that didn't know any better and so wholeheartedly love this person, wanted it to work, sees that they don't mean any harm. And you see that and you want to be the person to love them enough to heal. And you feel grief and sad about the fact that you haven't been able to do it. I really get it. and there is a grieving process with this. I so get it because you've tried so hard. It's time for you to focus on you and to heal and to remember who you are again, and to put all of that energy that you were trying so hard to use to fix this person and the relationship and yourself, and realize that there was never anything wrong with you. There was never anything wrong with you. It wasn't your fault. You were just trying to do something that actually is a 2-person job. Yeah? And you did your best and you did amazing. And you have to realize like the bravery that you allowed yourself to be to love someone so the way that you did and the way that you do. And that is a beautiful thing. And it hasn't gone unnoticed, because it's like, you know, to them, when you go, when you stop, it's like the background noise suddenly stops. The thing that they're avoiding suddenly stops. And they're like, huh? It's really quiet in here. It's really lonely. And if they're willing, they can then reflect on that and they can do the work. But often when that's there, they don't notice that it's there until you're too hurt to go, I can't do this anymore. I can't. I'm exhausted. And I've tried. And often what happens is in these situations that because you're so depleted, you then withdraw your love from them without meaning to, because you're hurt. And then that creates a spiral, a downward spiral in the relationship where it seems to get worse and worse and worse and worse. Until you can just pull back, stop doing that, and put your energy back into yourself. Now, sometimes people can do this and realize, oh my God, it's not my job to fix them. I have to focus on myself and stay in the relationship. But you have to keep asking yourself, well, what type of relationship do I want? What type of relationship do I really want? Do I seriously want to just not be abandoned more than I want a happy relationship? Because often people are staying in these relationships because they're absolutely determined to not be abandoned. They are determined to be right. They are determined to justify the effort that they've put into this person, which makes sense, doesn't it? It's an enormous amount of time and energy and love that you've poured into something you don't want to lose. And I remember feeling like that. I remember feeling like I can't lose. I've put everything into this, and if it doesn't work, I don't know what I'm going to feel about myself. And I know that historically, when this happened to me, I went into just a massive powerlessness feeling. I went into grief. I mourned it. I let it go over time, but it took time. And I was so confused. I was so confused about what had kept me there for so long. I was so lost. I couldn't even fathom the idea of dating someone else for ages. It wasn't an option. It wasn't a possibility. I didn't want to think about it. I just needed to be with what was there. I needed to be in the wreckage of what had happened to me from being with someone who was so avoidant and got worse and worse and worse over the time we were together. And therefore, my self-esteem just plummeted and I lost who I was. And then over time, through sort of silence and, you know, reflecting and being with friends and doing things creatively, that sense of self started to come back. And it was never really gone. It was never gone, but it was covered up by the energy that I'd put into trying to make the relationship work. And the difference, just to say again, the difference is if you're with someone who's doing the work, it's a totally different thing. You feel safer because you know that they're taking responsibility. But when you're with someone who's not doing the work, that is not good. It's not good. So you have to basically say, right, how many times have I offered them the opportunity to be vulnerable? And how many times have they rejected it? How many times have I felt gaslit? How many times have I asked for something, expressed something for it to be dismissed, me to be disrespected? And if that's happened too many times, and I mean, you know, you've given them plenty of opportunity to address it with you, then you have to accept, okay, am I willing to do this for the rest of my life? And if I'm not, then I've got to do something different. Because you've got to put yourself first at all times. You've got to choose yourself. And it's bloody hard to leave these situations. It's so hard because part of you really, really doesn't want to be wrong. You don't want to be wrong. You fear that if you leave, you've actually got it wrong and they were really good all along. You start questioning yourself, and they will make it hard a lot of the time. And so I guess you have to trust the process with this. It's different for everybody. I'm never going to tell anyone, you have to leave today, this is awful. Because I know that for me, if anyone told me that, I'd be like, I am not ready to hear that, and I'm not going to do that. So now I feel more shame about myself, so I'm never going to say that to anyone, because I know it's the process and it can evolve and change. But you've got to let go of trying to control this person to be different, because that is keeping you stuck. And you've got to really pour your energy back into you. So I hope I have made sense in this video. I could go on and on about this, but I thought I needed to do a video to say what the impact is of this, not just on you, but the thing is on them as well. It's enabling them to continue being avoidant as long as you allow them to be. And it's like any addiction, really. If they get to keep doing the behavior, they'll do it because there's no consequence to them not doing it. And it's the same with you. You don't want to be in this situation either. So you've got to take responsibility, and someone's got to go first. So if you offer them that opportunity, because it is an opportunity for both people, but you can see it as an opportunity to evolve, to grow, to heal together. But if they don't see it as an opportunity, they're going to keep on gaslighting you, and it's going to feel awful. So you've got to judge it for yourself. Like, how willing is this person? And if they're not willing, then you have to let go of this. Let this relationship die. You've got to let it die, not to say it's never going to happen again, but to say, I can't continue like this. It's hurting me. It's hurting my body. It's hurting my family. It's hurting my friends. It's hurting my work. It's hurting my energy. It's hurting my happiness. It's bloody hurting everything. And I know, because I've lived it. I've really lived it. And that's where all of my videos come from. I can talk about it without having lived it. It's so painful, but it's an opportunity for you to do the work on yourself. Like I've learned with myself, it brought up so much within me that has been transformational, and where I could take responsibility for having found myself in that situation, my own weak boundaries, my own inability to say no, the need for approval from this person that I was so desperately seeking that I didn't have any of within myself. And learning this just transformed the way that I feel about myself in an amazing way. And you think you'll never get over it, and then you do. So you're okay. You're going to be okay. And there's nothing wrong with you. And I really get it. I get it. I know how hard it is. So wherever you are in this journey, whether you're still with someone and you're struggling and you don't know whether to stay or go, I get it. Let it play out. Let your feelings play out. Let your lessons evolve. Let this situation make itself clear to you. Ask God, ask a higher power to guide you through it. But don't be forced by anyone, because it has to come from you, So yeah, I hope this video has been useful, that it's given you some validation, and I want you to encourage you that this will be a catalyst for massive transformation and growth within you for the highest good of you and everybody. And you're going to talk about this as a pivotal time in your life. And it's going to help you, inform you about how to create the next relationship, which is amazing as well. So trust the process. If you need any help or guidance, let me know. I've got one-to-one coaching options. I've got a couple of self-study courses, and the next cohort of the Conscious Creators Masters Academy will be running a bit later in the year, maybe April. So if you've got any questions about anything that I do, you can find out in the links below, and I'll see you in the next video.